If you have ever looked at your stuff and wondered, why did I buy this? This is the video for you. I want to teach you my 10 top strategies to shop more like a minimalist to prevent this from happening again. The holiday season is upon us, and there's definitely a lot of temptation we face when we're thinking about the purchases that we want to make or the gifts we want to give. But I want to help you prevent that overwhelm, prevent feeling like, where did my money go, and prevent you from spending more than you need. And in this video, we're talking through 10 rules and 10 guidelines to help you shop more like a minimalist and use this approach of intentional spending in your purchases. Let's get started. The first rule with shopping like a minimalist is that ignorance is bliss. If we don't know that something exists, then we can't actually desire it or want to purchase it. When we become aware of different products that are available, suddenly we start to feel temptation to purchase them. Not all things, of course, but there are certain things that get us, especially if we think about certain sales that are happening. And we might get a little FOMO, that fear of missing out on a really great sale. I don't know if you personally have started receiving more stuff in the mail that you don't actually really want or you even forgot about. One of these is from a company that I purchased something from 2 years ago, and that was the only item I ever purchased from them. And what do you know, they sent a catalog. Really, I think a lot of these things, it's best if you see that just to dispose of it completely. And I'm right here by my recycle bin, which is where these belong. But you can take it a step further. If you are currently subscribed to any online email newsletter lists where they're actively selling you things with every item, or they're marketing as, oh, sign up for sales, check the box so we can give you sales. Well, guess what? The sales, that's intended for you to buy more. Find that unsubscribe button from those emails that are not adding value and are leading you to feel tempted about certain products, and stop getting them in the future. Likewise, if you're receiving paper copies of different sales and flyers, if you can, contact them to remove yourself from the list, or if that is too difficult, just recycling them, get them out of your space. Don't even look at what they're offering, because if you don't know what's inside, you can't be tempted by it. Rule number 2 is to avoid the trap of free shipping. I'm curious, have you ever shopped online and figured out what you wanted to purchase, realized that it was not enough to qualify for free shipping, and added something else to your cart that wasn't necessarily needed just so you could qualify for the free shipping? Have you ever done that before? And the free shipping incentive is actually pretty genius from a business perspective. Maybe shipping only costs a couple of dollars, but you might be inclined to purchase way more than you would have and spend significantly more than you would have if you just paid for the shipping. Now, there definitely is a time and a place. I know when I purchase my favorite supplements from iHerb, such as prenatal vitamins, I have purchased an extra pack to get free shipping because I literally eat them every day. And it's not just another item sitting around, it's a consumable. So there's definitely time and a place. But if you find yourself thinking, what else can I buy to get free shipping? Really, number one, question, how much is the shipping anyway? It's probably not that much. And second, do you really need that extra item? And probably not. Rule number 3 is to avoid impulse purchases. We don't want to make decisions on an impulse because we are more likely to regret those decisions later on. Sure, in the moment, it's fun, it's exciting, it seems like a great deal. But when we don't actually take the time to fully analyze our purchases and really think things through, that's where mistakes get made. This can happen in a lot of different ways. It could happen with food purchases. You're casually strolling through the grocery store when you see an item that you know is going to be delicious, but it's not necessarily the best for you or worth the money, and you have to decide whether you go with it or not, and whether you choose to indulge or not. The same thing is true whenever we are maybe intending to purchase something very specific and you see something else that catches your attention. You might think, I think this might add value to my life. This might be really fun. I've been wanting something like that. You might even be affected by certain sales that appeal to this impulse shopping. 24-hour sale, early bird special, flash sale. We might think, oh my goodness, if I don't act right away, I'm going to miss out. Or limited quantities available. This could lead us to go into more of a fear mindset and make us feel like we have to make a purchase or else. This can even apply for purchasing really big things, such as purchasing a house. Last year when my husband and I were looking at houses, there were definitely phases where I first started out really liking a place and thinking, oh my goodness, this might be the house. And I'd get really excited and I'd think about the possibilities, visualize myself there. But if I was to make a decision right away, it likely would not have been the best one. I would take the time to really think through a decision and evaluate different pros and cons. And a lot of those places that I thought right away, oh my goodness, this could be it, did not end up being that once I really weighed all of the different pros and cons. And I'm very happy with the condo we ended up with and think it's been a really great fit for us. Whether it's that box of cookies at the grocery store or buying a house, taking your time to avoid these impulse purchases is a must. Maybe you apply the 24-hour rule where you don't allow yourself to make a purchase until you've thought about it for 24 hours. Maybe you decide your own constraints. Just focus on having these be planned purchases rather than impulse. Rule number 4 is to stop settling. This is something I've done a lot of, and maybe you've done it too. You know that you need something. Maybe you need some dress clothes for a formal event that's coming up. Maybe you're looking for a particular item for an upcoming trip that you have. Maybe there's a certain item you want, but you're trying to wait until you find a secondhand version of it. That's especially been me. In any of these situations, we might be looking for these items and at some point decide to settle. This happens if we're not able to find the exact ideal thing we want, but you find something that's good or good enough. However, most of the time, while these good or good enough type purchases may work for the very short term, these are not the items that we're going to likely keep long term because they're the perfect thing. They weren't. We settled just to maybe stop shopping or because we couldn't find what we were looking for at that time. And I have been there many times where I purchased something for a short-term need. It served its purpose, I guess, but then over time, you realize that it's not actually that valuable and then you let it go. Now, this one's a little bit more difficult in terms of the switch because you were still probably well-intended to be looking for these things, but just weren't able to actually find that. A couple strategies would be to try to plan ahead more. Sure, maybe you need a dress for a wedding. Rather than wait until a couple weeks before the wedding to start looking quite a few months in advance. You probably know about the wedding, so you could start thinking about it then. If you know that a favorite pair of shoes of yours is starting to wear out, keep your eyes open when you're shopping to see if you will come across that ideal replacement for them. It often just comes down to being patient. So whatever it is in your case, stop settling and don't waste your money on the stuff that's good for now because that's not going to help you long term. Rule number 5 is to not make shopping a leisure activity. Certainly it can be a lot of fun and it's often an activity people do with their friends or family members. And there's nothing wrong with that if that does bring a lot of enjoyment. But what if we're more inclined to purchase more than we actually should be or more than we can actually afford? Here and there, maybe a shopping trip for fun isn't much of a problem. But if this starts to be a monthly, every other week, even weekly occurrence, that can definitely leave a major hole in our wallet. So what could be alternatives to this? Well, I know personally I'm a huge fan of going for walks and am having a blast right now hanging out with my mom and going for a walk on this lovely fall day. What other examples of leisure activity could you possibly do with your friends or family instead? Rule number 6 is about setting new traditions. Traditions are really interesting to me because on one hand, they can be really fun and something you look forward to, but on the other hand, they can bring up a lot of pain and frustration and no one talks about it. Now, I'm not sure where your thoughts fall on that spectrum, but I think that a lot of holidays have sort of expected traditions that people feel like they need to continue following, but they don't actually ever talk about it to see if maybe people don't want to do that anymore. I think an example of this comes from gifting, and people have different expectations about what is gifted and what isn't. And the really cool thing is I feel like there's more and more different gifting alternatives that are coming up where people can give differently and it be even more valuable. Now, here's kind of a fun fact. My husband and I have been together for 7 years and married 5 of those years, and we've actually never exchanged formal gifts with one another. My own personal belief is that I don't want someone to give me a gift just because they're supposed to or because the holiday says that you should give a gift. To me, I always feel like those gifts, you can't really trust whether those are a genuine gift or if they're just giving them because of that holiday. Rather, I think it's a lot more fun to be able to give gifts spontaneously or to do nice things for the other person. And just because my husband and I have not exchanged formal gifts, it doesn't mean that we don't love each other and care about each other. We just choose to express that care in many different ways. Whether it's doing a chore around the house that's going to make the other person happy, or focusing on experiences such as the big trips we've taken together. Those are just a couple examples of ways that we don't have to play by society's rules and just exchange gifts because of a tradition. Could it be beneficial to rethink any of the traditions in your life? For rule number 7, we have to get emotional. And I love to take things back to root causes. You see, shopping is an emotional task. We might not think about it, but a lot of times we make purchases based on how we're feeling or what we're actually thinking deep inside. Have you ever made a purchase because you're insecure? I definitely have. I've struggled with my weight in the past, and there were definitely purchases I made because I thought it might make me look more slim or make me look better. The same is true with a lot of the different beauty, skincare, and makeup products that are out there. Perhaps you've made purchases for status. You might have felt insecure about an aspect of your life, but if you purchase this item, suddenly maybe other people will like you better or view you in a more positive way. Now, this soul searching is never something that's fun to do, but I encourage you when you make that next purchase or when you're thinking about making that next purchase, before you actually do, reflect about why you're buying it. Is it because of an actual need, or is it because of a want that's linked to something deeper? Why do I want this item? Taking that extra 10 or 15 seconds to question that item will help you prevent mistakes and buying something that's not actually going to be helpful. Rule number 8 is to avoid guilt and stop letting guilt spend your money. Just because you sample something and there's a person standing there helping you doesn't mean you have to purchase that product. Just because the person in the store helped you doesn't mean you have to purchase something. Just because someone gave you something that was expensive or spent money on you doesn't mean you have to match that amount of money and give them something expensive as well. Just because you go into a store doesn't mean you have to leave with something. When we can start thinking more intentionally and not let this guilt control our purchases, we're able to spend less and not feel guilty and have regret later on. Rule number 9 is to visualize the long game. Don't just think about this short-term purchase and the short-term use. Think about the use over the long term. And to illustrate this point, I want to give a great analogy that actually came from the Facebook group of my Better with Less decluttering course. And one of my students talked about how she uses an interview process to help determine which items come into her space. If we imagine a job interview where you're interviewing candidates and you're asking them a lot of questions to see what the best fit is, how could you apply this to your stuff? If you're thinking about making a purchase, question, where do I see this item in 1 year? In 5 years? Even in 10 years? How will it provide value to my life? How often will it be used? Will this product last? Does it have an expiration date? When we ask these tough questions about our items, we're much more likely to make an informed choice, which may often mean not actually purchasing that item. A lot of the items that we purchase or that are mass-produced are not necessarily designed to last, and if we allow ourselves to think big picture, it's going to help us be a little bit more responsible and also, again, spend less money on goods that were probably not the best quality anyway. And finally, rule number 10 is that shopping is not evil. Consumption is not evil. Sales are not evil. Consumption is still going to be a part of life. We just want to prevent overconsumption that we might regret. So I think there's a couple different ways that you can shop and spend money and consume in a way that are more intentional. One of those is to support ethical and sustainable companies. It's no secret that a lot of the companies are not really doing the right thing and are causing more harm than good. However, there are companies that are doing the right thing, whether that's using more sustainable materials, whether that's paying their workers a fair and living wage, whether that is respecting the planet and using fewer resources. However it works out, there's many companies that are doing great things. One of my favorite companies is Organic Basics, and I love their message. They are one of the most sustainable companies in all of the ways, whether it's just the fact that their materials are super high quality and last a long time, even with regular use. I love that they use organic and recycled materials for their fabrics. They even ship their items without plastic. So that's a company that I really support. If you wanted to check them out, I do have a discount code linked in the description field below. And as a frugal person, when I actually need something, I would love to purchase it on sale. We do have 2 sets of sheets at home for our bed, and the idea is that you've got one on the bed and the other one might be in the wash or something like that. And one of the sets of sheets, very old, I don't know how old, there has been this growing hole by where my feet are on the bed. And it started out very small and then has gradually expanded. And now it's getting to the point where while I'm sleeping and moving around, my foot actually goes under the sheet and gets caught there and then I have to remove it. So it's a little annoying and it's just very clear that it's wearing out. I became aware of the fact that we really needed to replace them about a month or 2 ago, but I wanted to take the time before I actually made a purchase, and I was excited that the company Packed, which I also love, has organic cotton sheets and that really soft jersey material for a major discount for their Black Friday sale. So we took advantage of that. And again, ethical company, but I wanted to take advantage of the deal because then I'm spending less money. I do also have a discount code with them that I'll link in the description field of this video. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I love secondhand shopping, and that's a really great option too for a wide variety of items that maybe aren't sustainable companies, but you can avoid the harm to the environment and the negative side effects that go along with purchasing something new if you purchase it secondhand. And honestly, in most aspects of life, it's much better to use something that already exists rather than create the new item. And when I'm shopping online, before I actually make the purchase, I activate cashback with the browser plugin Rakuten, which was also formerly known as Ebates. What's really great about this is that it automatically adds on any related cashback deals for wherever you're shopping. And it's just one additional way you can get some cash back after you've already decided to make a purchase. And I've gotten cash back for booking hotels and even paying for our internet. If you do want to sign up and get $10 free, go ahead and use the link in the description field of the video. So those are just a couple of ways that I choose to shop intentionally. Now that you've had a chance to watch the video, I hope you have a different perspective going into any of your shopping this holiday season or beyond. If you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel. There's a lot of great videos coming out over the next couple months you are not going to want to miss. And of course, you can see some past videos here. We'll see you next time. Bye.